Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this. 59 p.m. last night, just so we could be the first one to officially say that transfer portal, the transfer window is slammed shut. No longer can college basketball players decide that they are going to be transferring. That window is closed. Grad transfers, you got to be in the portal by now. Regular transfers, you got to be in the portal by now. It's an earlier deadline than we've had in the past, Jeff. What is your biggest takeaway from the transfer window in college basketball? Was it good? Was it successful? Did it work closing it earlier? Did it work having the grad transfers have to make their decisions earlier? Where do you stand now that the transfer portal is closed?
Well, first of all, as usual, your sources are incorrect. I was not watching the portal. I did not tweet at 11:59 that the portal was closed. That was one Jeffrey Borzello. So you're mixing up your Jeffs here. I was watching a show with my wife.
Just a clarification right there.
Yeah.
I was referring to the Trilly Donovan account that you also run. So that's where I was confused. I forgot that you didn't log into your burner.
Yeah, I forgot. I'll be better next time. I'm just happy as hell it's over. And I know we're going to talk to Coleman Hawkins for a little bit later on the show. And, he feels like maybe it's too soon for the portal and too soon for maybe the deadline for kids to withdraw from the NBA draft more than the portal itself. But listen, it can't close quick enough for me because this has been the ultimate shit show. I forgot to wear my shirt today, shit show supervisor, because that's what this is right now. It's a complete shit show. And I feel like the people that were pushing for all these changes in college basketball to happen and the freedom of players and NIL and all this, they just weren't prepared for the lack of I guess, consistency, the lack of rules, the lack of preparation for the NCAA to be able to handle this. And it has been an absolute disaster with agents being involved, with kids, coaches really having to make these decisions so quickly. I just think it's going to be a mess next year. I think the quality of the game is going to suffer, and we're not talking enough about that. Obviously, kids are getting paid. That's great. But you got the haves and the have-nots right now with NIL. And people will say, well, that was still the case before, right? Kentucky, Duke, they were getting the best players, and the Boston colleges and, the DePauls didn't have a chance. I don't know. There's something about it that just doesn't sit right with me with the way this whole thing's going right now. And I know I'm not supposed to say that because, again, we're supposed to be supportive of the players. But again, when you're paying some of these dudes who are on their fourth school in 4 years or fourth school in 5 years, and their previous 3 coaches have been fired, or they haven't had success at their previous 3 schools, and we're paying them all this money when they've been losing basketball players, something's wrong with that. Something's wrong with the kid also, Rob, who's coming in as a freshman in college right now. And because of his recruiting ranking, he's getting paid close to $1 million a year. Something is wrong with the system here.
There's a lot that you just said and a lot that I want to untangle here. First and foremost, I don't think that the portal has ruined the quality of the basketball that we're seeing or ruined the game. I think it's actually raised, specifically NIL has raised the level of college basketball and how good players are and how good these games are and how good these teams are because it's kept pros in the game for longer. Right, it's kept guys that would make a financial decision to go pro, kept them in the game. So we have better basketball players that are staying here for a longer time, and I think that overall raises the level of the game. It also helps that some of these guys are in their 5th and their 6th years, and getting rid of that COVID year is going to change some of this. You are 100% correct when you say that there is no structure to this. And at some point, the NCAA has to find some structure to this. This kind of feels like one of those things where a kid is asking their parent for something over and over and over again. And the parent finally just loses the will to say no, says, all right, F it. You want this? Here, go ahead. See how good you are at this. See how this works out for you. And it feels like the NCAA just said, F it. You know what? NIL, go ahead, do whatever you want. Transfers, go ahead, do whatever you want. Everybody, go ahead, do whatever you want. Instead of actually trying to find a way to be able to make this stuff work in a way that is going to be sustainable. Now, eventually there's going to be some structure to it, right? Whether that is a salary cap, whether that is something similar to the European model, where you have to pay the other school for the transfer, right? So maybe a kid comes in, he's making X amount of dollars a year. To be able to get that kid to come to your program, you got to be able to pay 40% of whatever his NIL deal was with the previous school, right? Maybe it's something like that. There's going to be some way to be able to disincentivize leaving the program and be able to make it be more profitable and better for you to go back to the school that you're at. And eventually we are going to come around to this idea where everybody realizes, like, okay, we went from prioritizing education over everything else in college athletics to completely ignoring the fact that most of these kids need something once the basketball stops bouncing. And eventually we're going to come back to the happy medium. So we went from one extreme to the other extreme without ever meeting in the middle. And that's what we got to do, is we got to find a way to get back to the middle where the education that these guys are getting does matter, because at the end of the day, so many of these dudes are not going to be able to sustain the rest of their life financially through just basketball. You got to be able to find something else and another way to be able to sustain yourself once the ball stops bouncing. And I think
Can I
we're
give you one
probably a
more
couple of
thing?
years away from getting. Yeah, go ahead. Do it.
Let me give you one more thing that annoys the hell out of me, and I hate it, and I know there's nothing we can do. All right, John L. Davis, Florida Atlantic. He transferred to Arkansas. Great Osibor left Utah State. Trey Townsend went from Oakland to Arizona. Jamari Thomas left Norfolk State. Tucker DeVries went with his dad from Drake to West Virginia. Jordan Durkak went. He left Merrimack. Zeke Mayo, South Dakota State to Kansas. Terrence Edwards Jr. went from James Madison to Louisville. Ken Evans left Jackson State. All these guys are mid-major-ish. I know John L. Davis doesn't count in Great Osibor, but the other guys, even Braden Smith, the other Braden Smith, is transferring out of Colgate. There is, to my knowledge, one player of the year from a mid-major league, low to mid-major league, one player of the year with eligibility left that didn't decide to go to the NBA, like Dylan Jones went to the NBA from Weber State. Ty and Grant Foster went to the NBA from Grand Canyon. One guy who's decided to stay at his current place. You know who it is? You know what league it is?
I do not.
Should be easy to figure out the league.
Who is it?
The Ivy League. Caden Pierce from Princeton. He's the only one. He's the only one. So again, I understand it. I don't behoove the players because, again, they're getting more money. They're getting a chance to play at a high level. You know, we're seeing some kids transfer out of Harvard with eligibility left, not graduates from Harvard. Now, they're probably going, one went to Malik Mack, went to Georgetown, really good academic school. Another might go to Stanford. But I just, it's such a farm system now if you're a mid-major and you have no chance, zero chance. You evaluate, you take that kid that honestly the high majors looked at and they said wasn't good enough, or he sat down the end of the bench at the Peach Jam and didn't get in the game. You evaluated him, you developed him, and then you say, hey, you know what? Go, man, go. I'm not going to tell you not to go and make 300, 500, 750 grand. We can't pay that. And it gives you a bigger opportunity, a bigger platform, a bigger stage. I get it all. I still hate it all.
Yeah, and I understand that as well. But at the same time, I think that it is the opportunity that all of these kids want, right? The opportunity to go play, fly on private jets everywhere, play in front of 14,000 people everywhere. Like, I'm sure Trey Townsend's dad is an Oakland alum. Like, he's known Grand Canyon forever, right? So he knows what that program is and what it's about.
And he played 4 years there, Rob. I think he played 4 years. He gave Greg Campy 4 years. So again, that's no.
No, I get it. I get it. But like, yeah, I get it. But it's also, I don't blame a kid for wanting the opportunity to be able to fly on private jets everywhere and be the star at a major state school playing in front of 14,000 people on national television every night. Right. So I get all of that. I also think there is room for these mid-major programs to find sustained success being the one and dones in their league, where they go out and they get the freshmen and they get the sophomores and they get the transfers that are coming back down from the high major ranks, where they do all this work to identify the guys and say, What we're going to do is develop you back to the point where you're going to be able to get that six-figure NIL deal after you leave here in college, right? Instead of being Coach Cal selling the NBA to guys and saying, we're going to get you to the pros in 1 to 2 years, you could be the mid-major program saying, we're going to get you to the high major ranks in 1, 2, 3 years. That's what we are. We are the stepping stone. If you kind of lean into that and embrace it, I do think there's a way to be able to develop that way. All right. Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.